The holographic projection materialized in Times Square first, then simultaneously across every major city on Earth. The beam that appeared towered 30 feet tall, its form composed of shifting iridescent scales that caught the light like oil on water. Around the world, millions stopped to stare at this impossible sight, their phones raised to capture humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. Admiral Sarah Chen watched the transmission from deep within Mount Cheyenne, her expression carefully neutral as the alien entity began to speak. Its voice resonated with harmonics that seemed to bypass the air entirely, transmitting directly into the minds of all who heard it. People of Earth, I am High Sovereign Vexthor of the Exerian Council. Your world has been monitored since your first nuclear detonation. The time has come for your species to take its place in the galactic community. Chen exchanged glances with General Marcus Rodriguez, her counterpart from South America's United Defense Force. They had both participated in countless simulations preparing for this moment, but the reality still sent chills down her spine. As is customary for emerging civilizations, we require a tribute to demonstrate your understanding of cosmic hierarchies. Your world will provide 15% of its mineral resources and 10% of its population for labor assignments across Council space. You have 72 hours to begin the collection process. The massive hologram flickered, showing images of vast mining operations and massive space stations. This is your opportunity to join a civilization spanning 10,000 stars. Resistance would be unfortunate. We have elevated 312 species to their rightful place in the cosmos. Those who refused our generous offer number 17. Their worlds serve as cautionary examples. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving billions of humans in stunned silence. Social media exploded with panic, financial markets plunged, and governments around the world declared states of emergency. It was exactly the chaos the Exerian Council expected to see. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility known only as the Vault, Dr. Amara Patil allowed herself a small smile as she reviewed the quantum scans of the alien transmission. Just as our models predicted, she said to the room of scientists and military leaders, they're using 6th-generation quantum harmonics for their communications, primitive by our standards. For over a century, humanity had maintained a carefully crafted facade of technological development, while publicly struggling with fossil fuels and basic spaceflight. Hidden research centers across the globe had pushed the boundaries of physics far beyond what any alien observer suspected. The Axiom Protocol, enacted after the first detection of alien probes in Earth's solar system, had become humanity's greatest deception. Admiral Chen's secure quantum communicator chimed. All Sentinel satellites report Council ships entering the system, her AI assistant reported. 27 vessels, matching known Exerian configurations. They're positioning themselves exactly as the historical data suggested they would. The Council's standard procedure was predictable. They had used the same intimidation tactics on countless worlds before Earth. Their ships would take formation around the solar system's key strategic points, a show of force meant to cow a primitive species into submission. They never suspected that humans had studied recordings of these encounters for decades, analyzing every weakness in Exerian technology and tactics. In a secure bunker beneath Geneva, the United Earth Defense Council convened its emergency session. Representatives from every nation gathered around a table that had been prepared for this moment since before any of them were born. The public would see what they expected. Panicked leaders arguing about submission versus resistance. The reality was far different. Project Oracle is ready, General Rodriguez reported. All quantum shield generators are charged and synchronized. The civilian evacuation protocols are prepared, though I doubt we'll need them. Our analysis suggests the Council's weapons are far less effective than their propaganda implies. Dr. Patel's hologram appeared above the table, her expression serious but confident. The quantum signature of their ships confirms our earlier assessments. Their technology relies heavily on standard baryonic matter manipulation. They have no defense against our zero-point energy weapons or dimensional phase shifts. Then we proceed as planned, Chen said, her voice firm. Maintain the illusion of panic and division for another 48 hours. Let them think they're watching a primitive species tear itself apart in fear. When the deadline arrives, she paused, looking at each face around the table. We show them exactly what humanity is capable of. The Exerian flagship Eternal Dominion hung in high Earth orbit like a metallic leviathan, its hull gleaming with the same iridescent qualities as its masters. High Sovereign Vexthor observed the primitive planet through quantum imaging arrays, watching the chaos unfold with smug satisfaction. Riots in major cities, military forces scrambling in disarray, global markets in free fall, all exactly as expected from a species facing its first real cosmic challenge. Their planetary leaders are still arguing about our demands, his second-in-command, War Commander Zix, reported. Some advocate immediate submission, others call for futile resistance, exactly like the others. But deep within the hidden laboratories of the Vault, Dr. Amara Patel was making the final adjustments to humanity's greatest technological achievement. The quantum core pulsed with controlled power, its impossible geometries defying conventional physics. Her team had spent decades perfecting this technology, building on theories that the rest of the world wouldn't see for centuries. Neural network integration complete, her AI assistant reported. All quantum nodes are synchronized across the global defense grid. We can initiate Operation Starcross at any time. Admiral Chen's voice came through the secure quantum channel. Status report on the civilian preparations. The public evacuation drills are proceeding exactly as planned, Patel responded. The Exerians are seeing exactly what they expect. Panic and disorganization. Meanwhile, our true defense forces are in position. The quantum shielding network is ready to protect every major population center. In orbit, the Exerian war fleet continued its standard intimidation protocol. Additional ships emerged from fold space, taking positions around Earth's major population centers. Their energy weapons powered up invisible displays, deliberately meant to be detected by Earth's primitive sensors. But in a hidden facility beneath the Antarctic ice, General Rodriguez watched the real sensor data with growing anticipation. Every Exerian ship that arrived was immediately mapped, scanned, and analyzed by quantum AI systems far beyond anything the Council suspected possible. Their weaknesses were cataloged, their blind spots identified, their weapon systems assessed and countered before they even fired a shot. Their entire command and control structure relies on sixth-generation quantum harmonics, Rodriguez noted, studying the holographic display. They never developed the quantum entanglement technologies we've been using for decades. They won't even see our attacks coming. The countdown to humanity's deadline continued, and the Exerian Council grew more confident with each passing hour. They detected increased military activity around Earth's major bases, obsolete jets scrambling, primitive missiles being armed, nuclear weapons being prepared, all part of the carefully crafted illusion. What they didn't detect were the quantum phase shifts occurring in seemingly empty regions of space, where humanity's real fleet waited. Ships that could alter the very fabric of reality, weapons that could reach across dimensions, defensive systems that made conventional shields look like paper barriers. In her command center deep beneath Mount Cheyenne, Admiral Chen received the final confirmation she had been waiting for. All Oracle nodes are green, her quantum AI reported. The dimensional phase grid is stable. Zero-point energy reserves are at maximum capacity. She opened a secure channel to all of Earth's hidden command centers. This is Admiral Chen. Operation Starcross is now active. All units maintain current positions and continue deception protocols. In 24 hours, we show the Exerian Council exactly what happens when you threaten a species that's been preparing for this moment for 3 generations. The Exerian ships continued their intimidating display, their commanders confident in their technological superiority. They had no way of knowing that their supposedly primitive targets had already mapped every weakness in their defense systems, had countermeasures for every weapon, and had developed technologies that would make their advanced systems obsolete. Dr. Paddle stood before the quantum core, watching its impossible energies pulse and flow. This single device represented the greatest technological leap in human history, and the Exerians had no idea it existed. "Final diagnostic complete," she reported. "The quantum displacement field is stable. We can shut down their entire command network with a single pulse." In orbit, High Sovereign Vexthor prepared his final ultimatum to Earth's leaders. His species had performed this ceremony hundreds of times, elevating primitive races to their proper place in the cosmic hierarchy. Some resisted at first, but all eventually submitted to the Council's power. Earth would be no different. He had no way of knowing that his next transmission would trigger humanity's response, or that the primitive species he sought to subjugate had already surpassed his civilization's greatest achievements. In 24 hours, the galaxy would learn a lesson about underestimating humanity that would never be forgotten. With 6 hours remaining until the Exerian deadline, the quantum sensors in Luna Base 1 detected a new wave of Council ships entering the solar system. These weren't the sleek warships of the main fleet. They were massive harvester vessels, industrial behemoths designed to strip mine entire continents. Their arrival was right on schedule, just like they did at Proxima Centauri, Admiral Chen murmured, studying the holographic display. Humanity's hidden outpost had watched the Council subjugate that system's pre-industrial civilization 50 years ago. The same pattern, the same tactics, the same assumption of superiority. In the vault, Dr. Patel's team initiated the final phase of their preparations. "Quantum displacement field at full power," she reported. 0-point energy tap stable. Beginning neural network synchronization with all Oracle nodes. The Oracle system was humanity's masterpiece, a quantum AI network that could predict and counter any known form of attack. For decades, it had studied every encounter between the Council and other civilizations, learning their patterns, finding their weaknesses. Now it would prove its worth. High above Earth, War Commander Zix noticed something odd in his sensor readings. For a fraction of a second, there appeared to be energy fluctuations in supposedly empty regions of space. But when he ran a diagnostic, his systems reported nothing unusual. The primitive humans were still scrambling their obsolete military forces, still arguing about whether to submit or resist. Everything was proceeding as expected. He had no way of knowing that the fluctuation was a test pulse from Earth's quantum grid. The fact that his sensors had detected it at all was actually a surprise to Dr. Patel. "Their technology is even more primitive than we thought," she told Admiral Chen through their quantum link. "They're still using basic baryonic field detection. They won't even see us coming." In his command chamber aboard the Eternal Dominion, High Sovereign Vexthor prepared to deliver his final warning to Earth. The human leaders had requested one last emergency session to discuss their response. He would graciously grant them this audience, then watch as they submitted to the inevitable. The quantum core beneath the vault pulsed with impossible energies as Dr. Patel initiated the final sequence. All Oracle nodes synchronized. Dimensional phase grid stable. "Ready to begin on your command, Admiral." Chen opened a secure channel to all of Earth's hidden command centers. "This is it. All units prepare for Operation Starcross Phase 3. Maintain emission control until my mark." She paused, looking at the holographic display showing the positions of the Council fleet. They had arranged themselves exactly as the Oracle had predicted, a perfect formation to demonstrate their power, and a perfect target for what was about to happen. At exactly 3 hours before the deadline, High Sovereign Vexthor's image appeared before the United Earth Defense Council. The alien leader's iridescent scales rippled with barely contained impatience. "Your time grows short," he announced. "Have you reached your decision?" Admiral Chen, now in her role as Earth's military representative, stood to address him. "We have, High Sovereign. Humanity has prepared a response to your demands." She nodded to someone off-screen, and a data transmission was sent to the Eternal Dominion. Vexthor's personal quantum terminal chimed as it received the transmission. He opened the file, expecting to find terms of surrender. Instead, he found a single word in the human language, English. No. Before he could respond, before he could even signal his fleet, everything changed. The quantum harmonics that connected his ships went silent. His sensor arrays died. Every system that relied on Council technology simply stopped working. Through suddenly darkened windows, Vexthor watched in horror as points of light appeared in previously empty space, hundreds of them, surrounding his fleet in a perfect sphere of human warships that hadn't been there seconds ago. Ships unlike anything the Council had ever encountered, their hulls rippling with energies that his sensors couldn't even detect when they were working. Admiral Chen's voice came through his ship's speakers, now using the Council's own communication frequencies. For 3 generations, we've watched you subjugate other worlds. We've studied your tactics, analyzed your technology, and prepared for this moment. You thought you were testing us. In reality, we were testing you. On every Council ship, control systems suddenly activated on their own, shutting down weapons and engines. The Oracle AI had already compromised their entire command network. Quantum displacement fields nullified their power systems. Dimensional phase shifts prevented any possibility of escape. From her command center, Chen allowed herself a small smile as she delivered humanity's real message to the Council. Your species has spent centuries forcing others to submit to your power. Now you're going to learn what real power looks like. The galaxy is about to change, High Sovereign. The only question is whether your civilization will adapt or become another cautionary tale. The Silent Strike, as it would come to be known throughout the galaxy, took less than 5 minutes. When it was over, the most powerful fleet the Exerian Council had ever assembled hung helpless in space, surrounded by technology they couldn't understand, at the mercy of a species they had gravely underestimated. The Galactic Council's emergency session chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 300 species sat in stunned silence as they watched the recorded footage from the Earth incident. High Sovereign Vexthor's mighty fleet, disabled and surrounded by human warships that seemed to defy the laws of physics as the Council understood them. As you can see, the human diplomat, Dr. Sarah Chen, formerly Admiral Chen, addressed the assembly. Earth has been aware of the Council's activities for generations. We have documented evidence of 329 cases of technological extortion, forced labor, and resource theft perpetrated against developing civilizations. The chamber erupted in a chaos of translated voices. Species that had submitted to the Council's tribute demands for centuries were suddenly realizing the true nature of their situation. In the diplomatic galleries, Dr. Patel watched with quiet satisfaction as she coordinated with the Oracle AI, ensuring their quantum translation systems caught every word, every reaction. Impossible. The Exerian Supreme Commander burst out, his scales flashing angry patterns. You were primitive. We monitored your development for decades. Your technology was barely past chemical rockets. What you monitored, Chen replied calmly, was exactly what we wanted you to see. While your observers watched our public space programs struggle with basic orbital mechanics, our quantum ships were already exploring nearby star systems. While you monitored our primitive communications networks, our quantum AI systems were decoding your most secure transmissions. The holographic displays showed more footage, hidden human cities beneath the oceans, massive underground manufacturing complexes, ships emerging from dimensional phases that Council science had never even theorized. But more damaging were the records of Council operations against other worlds, compiled over decades by human observation posts. We are not here seeking revenge. Chen continued as the images played. We are here to propose a new order. One based on cooperation and mutual advancement, not exploitation and fear. In the shadowed alcoves of the chamber, representatives from dozens of subjected species were already meeting with human diplomatic teams. Earth had come prepared not just with military power, but with something far more potent, the means for other civilizations to free themselves from Council dependence. The quantum core technology alone, Dr. Patel explained to an eager group of alien scientists, will revolutionize your energy production capabilities. No more need for the Council's controlled resources, and this is just the beginning of what we're willing to share. The Council's economic stranglehold had relied on keeping subjugated species dependent on their technology. Humanity's offer of technological independence was more devastating than any military defeat could have been. High Sovereign Vexthor watched his civilization's power crumbling in real time. You cannot simply dismantle an order that has maintained stability for millennia, he protested. Your order, Chen corrected him, maintained stability through oppression. We're offering something better. The choice facing the Council now is simple: adapt to a new reality of cooperative advancement, or become irrelevant to the galaxy's future. In secure chambers throughout the Council station, quantum AI systems were already at work, untangling the web of economic controls and technological dependencies that had kept so many species bound to Xerian authority. The Oracle network had mapped every connection, every pressure point, every leverage mechanism the Council had used to maintain their power. We've prepared transition protocols for every affected world, Dr. Patil announced to the Assembly. Technical assistance, economic restructuring, defense agreements, everything needed to shift from dependence to independence without causing systemic collapse. The human approach had been calculated perfectly. They had not just defeated the Council militarily, they had offered the entire galaxy a viable alternative. Species that had been paying tribute for generations were suddenly seeing a path to true technological advancement, not just the carefully controlled scraps the Council had doled out. From her position in the diplomatic gallery, Dr. Patel accessed a secure quantum channel to Earth. Phase 4 is proceeding exactly as the Oracle predicted, she reported. 97% of subjected species have already expressed interest in our transition protocols. The galactic power structure that had stood for thousands of years was being transformed not through war or revolution, but through the careful application of human ingenuity. Earth had spent generations preparing not just to resist the Council, but to reshape the entire galactic community. As the session continued, more representatives came forward with their own stories of Council exploitation. The dam had broken, and centuries of accumulated resentment were pouring out. But unlike typical revolutions, this one came with a clear path forward. Humanity had made sure of that. 1 year after the silent strike, the Galactic Assembly, formerly the Council Chamber, presented a very different scene. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered not in hierarchical tiers as before, but in a new circular arrangement that emphasized equality. The iridescent scales of Xerian delegates no longer dominated the proceedings. They sat as equals among those they had once ruled. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the central podium, reviewing the progress reports on her quantum display. The transition had exceeded even the Oracle Eye's optimistic predictions. In just 12 months, she addressed the Assembly. Over 200 formerly subjected worlds have achieved full technological independence. The quantum core network now spans 17 sectors, providing clean energy and FTL communications to species that were once dependent on Council resources. In a research center on one of those newly independent worlds, Dr. Amara Patel worked alongside alien scientists, teaching them the principles of zero-point energy manipulation that humanity had developed in secret. The facility hummed with the excitement of genuine collaboration and discovery. The most remarkable aspect, Patel explained to her diverse team, is how each species' unique perspective brings new insights to the technology. The Centaurians' understanding of wave mechanics has already improved our quantum efficiency by 30%. The Oracle Eye had predicted this too, that true cooperation between species would accelerate technological development far faster than the Council's controlled dispensation of knowledge ever could. Humanity's decision to freely share their advances had transformed former rivals into eager partners. In Earth orbit, the massive structure of Unity Station neared completion. Unlike the Council's intimidating fortresses, this facility was designed for openness and collaboration. Ships from hundreds of worlds docked at its quantum ports, bringing scientists, diplomats, and traders to what had become the galaxy's new cultural and technological hub. General Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's defense coordinator, watched the station's construction from his office in the transformed Mount Cheyenne facility. A year ago, we were preparing for potential war, he mused to his alien counterparts during their regular security conference. Now we're coordinating joint defense exercises with species we didn't even know existed. The former High Sovereign Vexthor, now serving as the Exirian representative to the new Galactic Assembly, had undergone perhaps the most remarkable transformation. Initially bitter about his civilization's loss of power, he had gradually come to recognize the benefits of the new order. We thought we were elevating other species by controlling their development, he admitted during a private meeting with Chen. We'd never considered that true elevation comes from cooperation and mutual growth. The Oracle network had evolved as well, its quantum AI systems now enriched by input from hundreds of alien perspectives. It no longer just predicted threats. It identified opportunities for collaboration, suggested technological synergies between different species approaches, and helped coordinate the massive effort of redistributing resources and knowledge across the galaxy. In the Vault, now an open research facility hosting scientists from across known space, Dr. Paddle stood before a new quantum core. Unlike the one they had used to defeat the Council, this one incorporated innovations from a dozen different species. Every civilization has something unique to contribute, she told a group of visiting dignitaries. The key was creating a framework where that contribution could be freely given, not extracted by force. The human approach had transformed potential enemies into allies, replaced competition with cooperation, and demonstrated that true power came not from controlling others, but from empowering them. The galaxy was entering an unprecedented age of discovery and advancement. Looking back, Chen reflected in her closing address to the Assembly. Our greatest achievement wasn't developing advanced technology in secret. It wasn't defeating the Council's fleet. It wasn't even freeing subjected species from technological dependence. Our greatest achievement was proving that a different way was possible. As she spoke, quantum displays showed images from across known space, former Council tribute worlds now hosting their own research centers, mixed species crews working together on exploration vessels, newly independent civilizations trading freely with their neighbors. The galaxy had been transformed not through conquest, but through humanity's careful planning and unwavering commitment to a better future. The Oracle Eye's final prediction had proven most accurate of all, that given the opportunity, most species would choose cooperation over domination, mutual advancement over exploitation, and hope over fear. Humanity's response to the Council's tribute demand had done more than save Earth. It had catalyzed a fundamental shift in galactic civilization. As the Assembly concluded, representatives from hundreds of worlds filed out not as masters and subjects, but as equals united in the pursuit of knowledge and progress. The age of tribute and submission was over. The age of collaboration and discovery had begun.